Good morning, everyone. Day 20. This is it. It's the day 20 of 365 days of running every single day without taking any days off. It is already really warm outside. I am getting ready to get started. It's already 93 degrees, so I'm kind of not looking forward to running in the heat, but it's okay. We're going to get this done. Today was an interesting morning, so I didn't get to meditate as much because I kind of had a lot of uninterrupted sleep last night. I hurt my back. I threw my back out of alignment, and I'm having this kind of like pinched nerve thing in the middle of my back. So every time I moved or readjusted myself, I would wake up. You know, the pain in my back would wake me up and whatnot. So I'm gonna have to deal with that tomorrow and see if I can get that taken care of. But anyway, today is gonna be exciting because I'm gonna be running, even though I'm having this discomfort in my back. We're gonna push through it, and we're gonna be running in 93-degree weather. But at the end of the day, we're just gonna be committed to doing this thing. It's 365 days with no days off. So with that in mind, let's get started. I'll see you guys in a little bit, and then I'll share my reflections of what my ideas that came to mind, you know, while I was running, what I was thinking about, that kind of good stuff. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Bye. All right. Day 20 is down. Super excited. 20 days, no days off. 365 runnings of consistently running every day with no days off. That's the objective. We want to see what happens, this transformation. And I can tell you right now that mentally, I'm already in a different place. You know, it's amazing how I feel already. So I recommend anyone to just pick up on a challenge, you know, and you know, maybe for you, running is not the thing. Maybe for you, running is, you already run 5 miles every day. Like, okay, whatever. Like, you know, 365 days, I've been doing it for 5 years. I don't really care. That doesn't challenge me. So maybe for you, it's about picking up a book. It's about picking up a book and doing something enriching in your mind, right? You're reading, you know, 100 pages a day, 20 pages a day, whatever it is. And you set your clock to that. And then you just make that be the challenge. Look, the challenge is not about the physical fitness. Let me tell you that it isn't. It isn't. You know what the challenge is about? The challenge is about tapping your mind with your body and building the discipline. See, your body's going to start talking to you when you get about half a block into your run. It's going to start telling you that it's 93 degrees. What are you doing out here? Why are you doing this? You have a perfectly good life, right? You got a cozy little house. You know, you could be sleeping in. It's Sunday. You know, it's Sunday. I mean, what's the deal? Sunday, right? Even God rested on the seventh day, right? Right? No. It's not Sunday. It's just another 24-hour window. See, we created these names. We created Sunday and holiday, and we created our birthday. It's another 24-hour window, man. That's it. It's a 24-hour window where you get 13 or 14 hours of sun. If you're in Arizona, you get like 20 because this place is just crazy. But at the end of the day, it's just 24 hours. It's not Sunday, it's not Tuesday, it's not Veterans Day. Yeah, I mean, you know, we got to absorb those days. Those are memorable dates. Those are memorable windows of 24 hours where we acknowledge certain things. Christmas, we acknowledge the birth of Christ, whether it's right or wrong. I hear some people say that he was born in June. Whatever you believe. But Christmas, you know, most of the world believes that's the Christ was born. So we acknowledge the birth of Christ, you know, if you're Christian. You know, we acknowledge Santa Claus. If you're not Christian, you're all about the presents. You're like, Santa is coming to town, yo. You know what I'm saying? That's it. So, you know, today I had a really interesting reflection. I reflected on how much this clears your mind. This clears your mind to think about a lot of things, you know, and you know, sometimes people, they're like, you know, this is crazy. You know, sometimes I talk to my friends and they're like, oh my God, dude, you're like 50. What are you doing? You know, what are you doing? Just try, you know, doing this craziness. Like, it's just crazy, right? Like, they'll tell me something like, you know, I walked a block the other day, you know, across the parking lot to my car. That's about the exercise I got, right? And here's the thing, you know, like, you can spend your life doing nothing, and that's totally okay. That's your choice. You have every right to do that. But I genuinely believe that God put us on earth with a mission. He didn't put us here just to filter oxygen and give carbon monoxide to the plants. Okay? I don't think that's our mission here. I think we're here to do something, right? Whether you believe in God, the universe, and some greater power, and if you don't believe in a greater power, then maybe it's just, why not be here doing something rather than doing nothing? You have this time here on earth, right? So maybe your challenge is to spend more time with your kid. I don't share a lot about my personal life, but I'm going to get you guys a little glimpse of it. I spend a lot of time with my daughter. I do. And I do a lot of things, right? Like, I'm doing this 365-day challenge, right? But I try to incorporate my kid into some of these things. I try to make time to spend time, concentrated time with her. So, for example, this morning, she was riding her bike. While I was running, she was riding her bike. We do a lot of things together. Last night we went, she actually made her first basketball hoop last night. Yeah, she was so excited. It was so adorable. I remember the first time I put a basket in the hoop, man, a ball in the hoop, man, it took me back to when I was a kid, man, just watching her jump up and down. It was awesome. So I make it a point, for some time when she was little, we would go to I would take her to tennis lessons and I would watch her at tennis lessons and then we stopped doing that, and then she started swimming and I would take her to swimming lessons and I would sit there and watch her swim and then, we sometimes, we would just go for walks in the morning. Sometimes we get up in the morning and we just go for a walk, right? And we just talk. We just talk about a bunch of stuff. We talk about school. We talk about what book she's reading, what ideas she's getting out of the book. We read together. A few times a week or so, we sit down and we actually are reading a book together, where she reads for, a certain amount of time, like a chapter, half a chapter, or whatever, and then I read another half a chapter of the book, and she listens to when I read it, and vice versa. And we do that as a family. So we do that as a family in our house, and here's the thing, like, maybe that's your goal. Maybe your goal is, I need to spend more time with my kid, and a lot of times, sometimes people might think, like, where does he have the time? How do you make the time? He mentions he works a lot. Well, yeah, I do. And if you know me or you've worked with me, you know that I do. I get up in the morning, I go for my run, I work sometimes till 8, 9 o'clock at night. And sometimes, if I have to work on the weekend, I work on the weekend, and then I got, stuff to do around the the list is endless. I need to live another 200 years to complete the current list that I'm on. Okay. So where do I find the time, and sometimes people, well, he doesn't do anything fun. He talked about how he cut out his television, and, the thing is, I just did that. Recently. But what I can tell you is that I have wasted a lot of time in my life, and I'm on a race to make up for it. And maybe you're sitting at home, and maybe you're younger, and maybe you're spending time on video games, or maybe you're watching TV, or maybe you're spending your time on TikTok or whatever it is, and you realize, wow, you know what? He wasted a lot of time. Yeah, I did. I wasted a lot of time. And now I'm trying to make up for all the time that I wasted. And it's not easy. And if I take myself and I try to teach my kid that, the time that you spend on the TV, you're never going to get it back. And that's the most precious commodity you have. That's the most valuable thing you have, because no matter what happens, you can't get it back. Then I'm going to turn off the TV and I'm going to sit down and we're going to read together, because I'd rather her be reading something that's going to enrich in her mind. And don't get me wrong, my daughter, she has fun books that she reads about dragons and worlds and fairies and anime, and she reads all kinds of stuff. But when she reads with me, she reads things that I feel are going to make her a dynamic person. So she's read books like Can't Hurt Me. She's read books like It's Never Enough. Or I forget the title. It's the second book from David Goggin. She's read, books that are designed to teach you about humanity and highlight some of the bad things about humanity and some of the good things about humanity. Sorry about that, man. My back I'm having this back issue that I mentioned earlier. So I make it a point that the time that I'm spending with her, I'm educating her in a way that's going to enrich her. And as far as wasting time, let me tell you, in 2020, I wasted a lot of time. There was a lot going on in my life during that time, 2019, 2018, 2020. Man, those were rough years. And one of the things that I found myself, was the pandemic and everything was going on and nobody knew what was going to happen and the uncertainty and companies were shutting down. And it was chaos. When you think back about all the stuff that was going on, the election, the Black Lives Matter riots downtown, the economical chaos that was happening, you couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I was glued to the TV, and it blew my mind. It just sucked me in, and I spent a lot of time watching TV. Trying to make sense of what was going on in the world, in disbelief of how people reacted to some of the stuff that was going on in the world. I mean, people talk about how the pandemic was not real or it was real or the vaccine or go drink Clorox because it's going to help you save yourself and people actually doing that, which is, oh my God. But nonetheless, we saw it. Those of us who was tuned in, we were watching everything unfold on the news. And, I take everything with a grain of salt, and I don't necessarily believe everything that you see on TV. I don't believe everything that you're being told. In my early 20s, I found that if you watch Fox News and you watch CNN, it's like watching a movie from J-Lo and then watching The Godfather. They're two different. Their stories are completely opposite, right? And if you watch MSNBC and you watch CBS News, it's like watching. Nothing is ever exactly the same, right? And so in my early 20s, I started doing this thing where I would watch, Fox, CBS News, MSNBC, CNN, and then I would read the New York Times, and I would kind of figure out that whatever was common among all of those news outlets was probably somewhere in there where the actual news was. Later in my life, I realized I understood why. I understood that the reason why the news are like that is because the news channel is a business. They're not there to inform you. That's not their job. Their job is to get ratings. Their job is to get you to tune in. Okay? Their job is to tell you that some guy ran a red light and he killed his son in the process. So that you can tune in because you're like, oh my God, that just what? 12-year-old kid died in a car accident because his dad ran a red light. What they didn't tell you is that he had a ruptured spleen, and he was in terrible pain, and he was with his kid at a job site doing some inspection, and he had to run to the hospital, and in desperation to get there, he ran a red light. But they don't tell you that on the headline. No, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to make it sound like he's some horrible guy who ran a red light and killed his kid so that you follow the herd and go tune in. Right? In addition to that, you have to think about how different people have different points of views and value different things. And if my values line up with one political politician or another, I'm not going to tell you the good things that the other politician is doing. I'm going to tell you that the politician that I follow is the guy who everyone should follow, right? So if the news outlet, the news reporter, has a vested interest, right, Or if the news outlet tells the reporter, this is what you're going to report because we have a vested interest in a particular politician, then if you're only listening to those news, you're going to hear that story, right? They're going to tell you that he's the coming of Jesus Christ to save you, right? Or they're going to tell you that the other guy is the demon from hell. Or and I'm not, this isn't about me being one side or the other. I'm just telling you how I interpreted the news, or what I've come to understand about the news, is that whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right or whether you're on the far right or whether you're on the far left, wherever you're at, it's okay. That's where you are. That's okay. It doesn't matter where I am. That's where I am. You don't need to worry about that. But what I'm saying is that for me, interpreting the news became this kind of thing, like, where does the truth really lie? What do you really believe? And so in order to do that, I started analyzing how I looked at my health. If a doctor came to me and they said, hey, Alexis, you have cancer, and they're going to remove your liver, a portion of your liver, and they're going to remove your spleen because you have cancer, you have a 1% chance of survival. It's going to cost, if you do survive, it's going to cost you $500,000 out of pocket. You know, we can schedule your surgery for next Sunday or next Monday. And would you really say, okay, cool, I'm in, let's do it. 7 a.m. Monday morning, you got it. I'll be there. I'm not supposed to eat for 48 hours before the surgery. Perfect. I'll stop eating on Saturday. Would you really do that? Would you really just be like, sign me up, beam me up, Scotty, let's do this. Go get the scalpel. Let's get it done right now. Let me jump on your table. I imagine your answer is hell no, right? Because you would want to get a second opinion, and a third opinion, and a fourth opinion, and a fifth opinion. And then you want to consult with alternative medicine doctors and maybe do some research on some of the medical breakthroughs that are happening in Europe to see if anybody else has a better idea of how to deal with this. How do I increase my chances of survival, right? And how do I make it affordable? Or is it something that I can even afford, right? You're not just going to be like, sure, man, cut me up. I'm here. No, of course not. And so then I thought, I was in my 20s and I thought, well, this news thing, this sounds crazy. Some of this stuff is just out there. And by the way, I used to watch Fox News when I was, younger. And so I started addressing my being informed in a manner like I would address my health. And I started listening to different news outlets and trying to find the area where they all shared commonality. And then I was like, okay, this is probably where the news is, not out here with all this stuff that didn't align between all the different outlets. And then I took it a little bit farther because I realized that, every news outlet in the US, it has interests of things that are happening in the US. But what if you listen to a news channel in London? London doesn't really maybe care about your local news. So they're just going to report whatever they get, right? And so I started listening and paying attention to what BBC would talk about in the international section and what they would say about the US. This allowed me to have a glimpse on what someone outside of the US was saying about the US news. And then I started to expand that, and I started listening to news from like Madrid. And, I started paying attention to a few other news channels, Switzerland, paying attention to some of the Swiss news, because they're kind of like the backbone of the finance world in the world. And so I kind of wanted to know, what are the Swiss thinking about what's going on in the US, right? I wanted to know that. And it's interesting because in knowing that, I also found out that what happens in international markets affect our markets the next day, right? So it kind of sparked an interest to know what was going on. What was the markets doing in London? What were the markets doing in China? What were the markets doing, in some of the major metropolitan areas in the other continent? What was going on over there? Because that would reflect what would happen usually the very next morning here in the US, because we're behind in time. It's a time zone thing. We're not behind in knowledge, we're just behind in time. So anyway, that was me deciphering through news. But on 2020, because so much was going on and it was so easy, that you just got caught up in it. And so I wasted a lot of time in 2020. And, realistically, even if you're following 6 or 7 different news outlets, maybe 1 or 2 international ones and maybe 3 national news outlets, just to find that nucleus of information that might be 100% true, right? So even then, you could probably sum that up in like 90 minutes, right? On the weekend, you can just go tap in the internet, log into whatever news outlet, website you want to go to, look for international news, boom, 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 read it, be done with it, right? You don't need to spend 2 hours every day watching news on TV, because the thing is, they don't care. They're not there to inform you. They're there like notifications telling you that you should be checking your phone, right? That you should be checking your YouTube channel, that you should be checking your Facebook channel, because their business is to get your attention. The news channel, it has a business, and that is to get your attention, okay? So instead of spending 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, right, watching the news in one outlet, why not spend 90 minutes and read the news from 5 outlets? First of all, I think you're going to find that you become more informed. Second of all, I think that you're going to find that your time exponentially expands. And then you don't have, you'll be able to say, okay, well, I have an extra 5 hours a week. How can I make that 5 hours be enriching to me, right? What can I do with that 5 hours? So that was my reflection today. This discussion today, I used the news as an example, but what I'm trying to explain to you is that if you kind of do an audit of your time, you're going to find that every single person in the world has 24 hours. And we sleep, 8, 9, in some cases 10 hours, in some cases 6. It just depends. Some people need more sleep than others. But at the end of the day, we have 24 hours. And with those 24 hours, if you're just mindful about where you allocate your time, you'll find that you'll have more than enough time to do the things that you say that you want to do. And I'm going to leave you with this last thought. I don't want to be the guy that dies and shows up. If you're Christian, this you'll relate a little better. If not, then just think about your whatever you believe in and think about that, right? I don't want to die and show up to the pearly gates, and then they pull out this list and they go, Alexis, awesome. You were supposed to, let's take a look at the things that your list of things that make you. Oh, you set up a nonprofit and you help homeless people. Oh, wow. You developed a financial coaching thing and you helped a lot of people with their finances. Look at you. You built a successful company. You raised an amazing kid. You were a great dad. You inspire a lot of people to do physical things. You read 5,000 books. You did really good in school. You did this and you did that, and then at the end of the list, you don't want to look at that individual telling you that, and you go, wait, I didn't do any of those things. And they go, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, I was reading the list of all the things that you were supposed to do on your mission while you were on Earth. Now let's take a look, let's grab the other list and see what you did. You spent 4 hours a day playing video games. you did do a lot of movie watching. It looks like you watched about 7 million movies. And it looks like you never picked up a book. Oh, and I see why you're here at 46. See, you were supposed to live till you were like 85, but you died at 46 because you never got off the couch. And so your heart couldn't support you any longer. I don't want to be that person. I'd rather be the person where they go to the list and they go, hey, you were supposed to graduate from college. You were supposed to work at a company and do amazing things. You were supposed to build amazing software. You were supposed to get awards for being a great manager. You were supposed to, and then they go, okay, the list ended there. But let's take a look at what you did. In addition to all of those things, oh my God, you inspired a lot of people to become healthier. You helped a lot of kids go to college. You donated a lot of time and coached a lot of people on how to manage their finances. You donated a lot of time and you helped organizations help the homeless. You donated a lot of time and you worked with a nonprofit organization that gathered toys for the kids at Christmas. You ran you ran a marathon. You weren't supposed to go and be an athlete, but you became an athlete in your own way. And you raised an amazing kid that we didn't think you were going to be able to do that, but you excelled at that. And your list only had 7 items, but you did 15 or you did 20. I'd rather be that guy. So you need to think about who you want to be. And don't think about the limitations, because realistically, whether you're 25, whether you're 35, whether you're 45, whether you're 55, it doesn't matter, man. You got time. Right now you got time and you got decisions to make. And if you're only competing with the you of yesterday, that's all that matters. So you just have to push forward and get to compete with the you of yesterday. If yesterday you spent the day sitting on the couch watching TV, your challenge is easy. Get off the couch and go for a walk. That's it. I'm going to leave you with those thoughts. Okay? Have a wonderful day. One more day that's down. 365 days was the challenge, but I'm already 20 days in. If you're enjoying these videos, if you like the stuff that you're hearing, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to see you following me and getting to know me a little bit better. I'd love to see you following me and getting inspired. If you decide to take on the challenge, put it on the comments, send it to me, and then share your videos with me. It'd be great. I'd love to see that. All right, man. You guys have a good day. Take care.